was through the Hawaiian newspaper that the Pacific American Foundation had started. And guess who was writing that paper?
Uncle Danny.
Yes. Uncle Danny and actually Pila Laronel.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's right.
Okay. And
Wow.
you can see where
Which
the
is
connection
Kapiolani's father, who's the founder of Pioneer and PSA.
But anyway, in that newspaper, I saw that they had an article on Al pointing out that he was the first Pacific Islander to be captain
Of a nuclear submarine.
Nuclear submarine.
First minority, so
That's-
no black could ever become captain of a nuclear submarine. And we had a Pacific Islander that was.
There's stories about him that I'll just tell you that it was an outstanding career. But he was here, and he was part of the Pacific American Foundation. The Pacific American Foundation had been started by several Kamehameha graduates that went to school and graduated in the 1950s. So I knew Al, I called him up and talked to him. And lo and behold, the other members of the Pacific American Foundation, the founder was in Washington, D.C., General Cooper, graduated in 1958. 59. And one of the VPs down in San Diego was Clint Helene, who graduated in 55, I believe. And of course, Al was up here. But the Pacific American Foundation is where the idea for NAPA started. And then the Pacific American Foundation was a national organization. They had formed in Washington, D.C. with a lot of connections to the government organizations. And they had people up in Seattle, Al, Clint Helene down in San Diego, connections with Samoa and Guam through the representatives in Washington, D.C. So we had founded individuals. But not only were they a national organization, but they were trying to gather or connect and include all Pacific Americans. So that with the was a formation of that, and I talked to Al and started to understand what was happening. I did not realize the severity of the Pacific Islander problems. We were sick, poor, undereducated. Nobody knew it because we had always been lumped in with Asians, and all the records that came out of census was Asians, Pacific Islanders, top of the line, education, jobs, everything you can think of. Who the heck knew that we were suffering or had the kind of problems that? So the PAF was trying to make this well known. They had formed this national organization, and as a result of their actions, they were instrumental in getting us separated on the census. And so, as working with Al and the Pacific American Foundation, it basically generated us thinking about local organization, and that's where we started Northwest Association of Pacific Americans. Okay, so basically, we have the same mission, which is try to improve the lives of all Pacific Americans. Our goal was to extend, thank you. Organization of local Pacific American organizations come together and work on our local problems, while as being part and affiliated it's interesting in that the PAF also started our NAPA course that we were trying to get people to go to. And we got the same people involved. Basically, I recruited Uncle Larry and my classmate Heather, and they made every one of us realize how bad off the Pacific Islanders were. And how do we change that? And that was our goals and objectives. Well, we've soon found out that we have a lot of major problems, not only nationally, but here locally. The biggest problem, of course, is money. Funding, how do you get it? The reason we, in the Pacific American Foundation, try to get separated is that in the Office of Management and Budget in Washington, D.C., if you have an identification, they allocate certain problem monies to help that particular identified problem. Well, nobody knew that we had that kind of problem. So it was a problem getting recognized and counted. Even though the census came out, this was on a national scale, and if you came down to the local people, you didn't have any data. Nothing. And in order to get funding, you had to get the data. How many are you talking about that's poor? I don't know. How many Pacific Islanders flunking out of school? I don't know. Nothing here. So this is one of the things that when we formed that, NAPA was trying to do. Get this aggregated data locally in the state. The only place, the only organization that I knew separated the Pacific Islanders out was the University of Washington. That was the only one, and they were keeping track. Pacific Islanders separate from Asians and everybody else. But anyway, I'll continue on that line a little later. The other thing that we found out, we had no political clout. Not only didn't you know, nobody knew that we had problems, you didn't have anybody to help you get recognition, allocate certain money, see that you have problems, sign out governmental type aid. No political clout at all. One of the first things I was trying to do, NAPA, is get state recognition of Pacific Islanders. Wrote to Governor Locke at that time, asking, let's get some data statewide. No response. Nothing in here. The next thing I realized that in order to get some recognition, we had to join with Asians. And that's how we started to collaborate with them. And with them and through them, that organizations, Auntie Heather and Stan joined with the ACRS, who at that time used to take groups of people down to Olympia and advocate for Pacific Islanders as part of the Asian Pacific Islander organization. So that's how we got started on that. And the excuse me. Anyway, one of the things that we were trying to do, besides getting recognition, was we were trying to define our role. in the Pacific American community. The problem is every Pacific Islander organization was an entity. They were working for Samoans. They had the Guamanian Club, even though they were cross-pollination all over, but they were focused on their own particular people, clientele. And so we had to somehow join together to get more political clout and to go in the same direction on some key points. Well, that brought up another problem. No consensus of what NAPA should be focused on. How do we come in and, you know, we can't come in and take over for all the individual communities, but we could focus on certain things. And those two things came up. One was trying to get I guess you'd call it a cultural center, where it's only for Pacific Islanders. And the money was just too big. We tried certain areas to join and get a place over in West Seattle, but we just couldn't raise enough funding to do that. So we moved over into what we felt was the next level, most important, was education. And I told you before that the University of Washington was the only one that had separation of the Pacific Islanders. And through Rusty, I forgot her last name.
Barcelo.
Barcelo. She, you know, I met her through working with the Asian coalition that I was party to, and talked to her about, you know, helping out Pacific Islanders. And of course, what we were trying to do initially is help keep Pacific Islanders in school so that they can graduate. We found out through the data that a lot of them dropped out, not because they couldn't do the work, but because they ran out of money, or their families got into trouble. They'd use their school money to help the family, nothing for school, drop out. That was what it was like. So, luckily, about this time, we were struggling for fundraising, and somehow Clint Helene always said something greater than us is guiding us.
Right.
Uncle is guiding us.
Yes.
Uncle Larry and his wife Wanda were recipients of a trust. They had worked for years with good friends who just happened to be rich. And when they died without any heirs, they gave most of their money, they were Catholic, to Seattle University. There was a small portion through their friendship with Uncle Larry and Wanda, had this funds to use at their discretion. And luckily, they allocated some of that money to us in that one. You know, they also allocated and maintained the poly. But that's